In 2002, a man in Nha An sold an ancient bronze cup for $10,000. The buyer agreed to the price. He left to get the cash. When he came back, the money in his hands, the cup was still sitting on the table, exactly where he'd left it. No one had touched it. It had split in two. Then it kept splitting until it was nothing but pieces. The buyer didn't ask for his money back. He didn't ask anything. He just ran. That cup had come out of a riverbed in Hanoi. So had everything else that happened next. August 15th, 2001. A construction site on the Tô Lịch River in Hanoi. A man named Kuang is lighting incense at a small shrine on the riverbank. It's a formality, a blessing before the work begins. The incense catches fire. Not lights, catches. The whole bundle flaring up at once. At the same moment, his chest seizes. A sharp, deep pain, like something pressing down from inside. He's still trying to put out the flames when someone runs up from the construction site. "We have a problem." Down at the riverbank, the excavator, a heavy machine parked solid on the embankment, is moving. Slowly, on its own, sliding toward the water. No one is in the cab. No one touched the controls. The dike breaks. Water rushes in. The excavator disappears under the surface. And in the mud it had just dug up, mixed in with the soil, are bones. Human bones. A few days earlier, before any of this, Kuang had brought in an engineer named Pham Ngoc Ang to survey the site before construction started. On the very first day, walking the riverbank, Ang stopped at a large temple near the water, Quan Doi Temple, dating back to the Li dynasty. He turned to Kuang. "You shouldn't take this section," he said. "It's dangerous." Kuang didn't listen. The contract was signed. The crew was ready. He would spend the next 5 years regretting that he hadn't. After the excavator went under, the crew drained the site and went back in, slowly this time, on foot, in the mud. The first thing they found was wood. Stakes. Old, dark, hard as iron, driven straight down into the riverbed. Not scattered, not random. Arranged in short, even rows, set in a shape that didn't belong at the bottom of a river. Someone had put them there, on purpose, a very long time ago. And then they found the rest. Pottery, iron tools, bronze coins, the bones of animals, and human remains, laid out between the stakes. Some of them with iron spikes driven through the shoulder blades. These people hadn't drowned here. They'd been pinned down here. Kuang stopped everything and called the Hanoi Museum. Archaeologists came, knelt in the mud and began cataloguing it all. Bowls, knives, sickles, coins, a sewing needle. Pieces of ordinary life buried with the dead. That night, the man who'd been operating the excavator, a worker named Hung, went home. He was healthy. He was fine. And then he wasn't. He dropped into convulsions on the floor of his own house. Eyes rolled back, foam at his mouth, his body turning in circles like, his family said afterward, a chicken with its throat cut. They ran to the riverbank with offerings, burning paper money in the dark, crying, begging whatever was there to let him go. They were halfway through the stack of money when the phone rang. Hung was awake. Word got out. A priest from Haiphong, a man known across the region for handling things other people couldn't, agreed to come. He walked onto the site and stopped. He hadn't been told anything. He hadn't seen the bones yet. He just stood there at the edge of the riverbank and went very still. "This place," he finally said. "The energy here is too heavy. "This is beyond me." He performed one small blessing that evening, packed up, and was on the road back to Haiphong before dark. He never returned. He never explained. Around the same time, the Hanoi Museum assembled a panel: historians, archaeologists, researchers in the spiritual traditions. They examined everything pulled from the riverbed, and the conclusion they reached was not a reassuring one. This was a Bat Kwai formation, a sealing ritual, laid down more than 1,000 years ago to guard the western gate of the old citadel of Dai La. The stakes, the bodies, the spikes, all of it deliberate. All of it meant to hold something in place. The man leading the panel, Professor Jung Kwok Vuong, told Kuang there could be a bound force still tied to the ground beneath them. Ghost soldiers, in the old language. And then a room full of scientists told a construction foreman to be careful, for his workers' health, for their lives. What none of them said out loud that day was this: the river was only one site. Centuries earlier, the same hand that sealed this stretch of water had buried 80,000 clay towers inside a mountain just outside the city to hold down something no one has ever agreed on. That mountain still stands. People climb it every weekend. But that's a story for another night. For now, back to the river. Kuang gathered the bones, placed them in small coffins, buried them along the riverbank, and assigned someone to burn incense for them every day. It didn't help. Every time they rebuilt the dike, it broke. Every scoop of mud brought up more bones, sometimes whole skulls. The workers started having the same kinds of dreams, men in old-fashioned robes and headwear chasing them away. One worker, Tuong from Nghệ An, dreamed it every single night. An old woman grabbing him by the hair, dragging him back. "This is not where you come to make a living," she told him. "Go home." Tuong didn't leave. He stayed, and he told the others to stay too. 3 days later, his wife, who cooked for the crew, suffered third-degree burns over her entire body. He took her to the hospital. He never came back to the site. A drilling rig was brought in to test the ground. 3 times the drill bit snapped the moment it touched the riverbed. 3 times. The drilling company packed up their equipment and left without asking to be paid. Another worker, Juan, stepped on top of one of the wooden stakes, just stepped on it, and within hours got word that his father, back home, was dying. A worker named Nong had spent days carefully collecting the bones and artifacts from the mud. His mother had a stroke. A worker named Loi, the most fearless of all of them, the one who dove straight into the riverbed to dig, climbed out, washed up, and got a phone call. His house had burned to the ground. A nephew he was close to had died suddenly, with no explanation. One by one, the crew walked away. Standing alone by the empty riverbank, Kuang thought to himself, "What did I do to deserve this?" By November, only a handful of men were still working. Kuang managed to bring in a respected monk, Tik Vien Tang, from Huang Pagoda. He arrived at the site, sat down, closed his eyes, and began chanting. After a while, he stood up. "This is a sealing formation," he said. "Extremely dangerous." He set up an altar with his disciples and performed a ritual to close it. When it was done, he turned to the group, and his voice changed. "I've done what I can, but all of you, be careful. And Kuang, you especially. You will suffer the consequences. Your family, your relatives, your children. They will all face misfortune because of this." He paused. "Because of this altar, my own life may not be safe either." 3 months later, Thich Vien Tang died. His disciples said that before he passed, he told them it was because of the Tô Lịch River. The work still wouldn't move. Dikes broke. Steel barriers were pushed up from below by water with no visible source. Stones dropped into the riverbed simply sank and vanished. By June 2002, Kuang, out of money, out of options, managed to bring in another priest, a spirit medium named Mao, well known in Hanoi. The ritual lasted 2 days and 2 nights. Flags, altars, offerings. Hundreds of people came to watch from the banks. When it ended, Mao pulled Kuang aside. "You can finish the work now," he said. "But your household, you will lose everything that matters most. Your brothers will lose everything they have. There will be injustice in your family for years." He looked down. "And me. For doing this ritual for you, I will pay a price too. I won't die, but I will never be the same." That night, on the way home, Mao collapsed. For nearly 2 weeks, his family took him from hospital to hospital. No doctor could find anything wrong. He drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes complaining of pain, sometimes of pressure in his head, sometimes saying nothing at all. He eventually recovered, but he was never as strong again. And strangely, after that ritual, the work got easier. The barriers held. The riverbank stopped collapsing. They finished another 150 meters. It was the calmest the project had ever been. Among the artifacts pulled from the river months earlier was a small ceramic bowl, decorated with chrysanthemum patterns, dating to the Li dynasty. A visiting official named Tuan had asked if he could take it home as a keepsake. He kept it on display in his house. From that point on, his family fell apart. Arguments, failed business deals. Nothing went right. A year later, Tuan was on a work trip in Laos. A local fortune teller saw him and froze. "Are you carrying something that belongs to the dead?" "No," Tuan said. The man shook his head. "Think again. There are spirits behind you, many of them, and they are asking for something. A bowl. A rice bowl. You took it from the river. Now they have nothing to eat from. You need to return it, now, or this will get much worse." Tuan remembered the bowl immediately. He cut his trip short, flew back to Hanoi, prepared an offering, and returned the bowl to the exact spot in the river where it had been pulled out. July 24th, 2002. 3 days later, July 27th, 2002, Kuang's father, a man in his 70s who still worked like someone half his age, sat down at home for a cup of tea. He had a stroke. He died 6 hours later, despite emergency treatment. After the funeral, Kuang went straight back to the river. He dug up all 8 sets of remains they'd been keeping in temporary graves along the bank, washed them, placed them properly in coffins, and had them moved to But Bat Cemetery for a formal burial. Before the ceremony, in front of everyone, Kuang knelt and prayed out loud. People heard every word. He asked the spirits to forgive the disturbance. He said he was only a worker, following orders from above. He said he had nothing left, People dead, people sick, money gone. And then he said, if the spirits must punish someone, punish Nguyen Quang Hung, the director of the company, and Nguyen Trong Duong, the project director. They never believed any of this. They never helped. They mocked us. Spare the rest of us. 2 days after the burial, a car carrying Nguyen Quang Hung and several staff was on a work trip to Quang Binh. The car was destroyed in an accident. Totaled. Hung broke 3 ribs. Others in the car were injured too. About a month later, the project office, run directly by Nguyen Trong Duong, caught fire. The 2-story building burned to the ground, everything inside it. Kuang had completed 150 of the 360 meters he contracted for. He was out of money, out of workers, out of time. He terminated the contract. The company gave him nothing. He'd lost the equivalent of $500 million dong. He went home to Nghệ An. Among the few artifacts he'd kept for himself was an old black ceremonial cup. Bronze, the kind the professor had called extremely rare. He needed the money. He found a buyer. $10,000. The buyer left to get the cash. The cup sat on the table. When he came back, money in hand, the cup split in 2. Then it kept going, until there was nothing left but pieces. No one had touched it. Kuang gathered what artifacts he had left and gave all of them away to Professor Tren Quoc Vuong, the same man who had identified the formation in the first place. The professor laughed it off, told him it was just old ceramic, drying out too fast after years underwater. Nothing spiritual about it. It was the last time they ever spoke. Not long after, the professor died, suddenly, with no warning. That was 2002. By the time this story was written down, 4 years had passed. Kuang had gone from a wealthy man to someone with nothing, working odd jobs across the border in Laos, sometimes with no home to return to. His older brother got into a fatal traffic accident and went to prison. Another brother, the one who'd lent him the money for this project, lost everything in a business collapse. His younger sister, working an honest job in Saigon, found herself on trial for a crime she didn't commit, caught in a fraud case run by people above her. Every fortune teller she visited told her the same thing. Her bad luck started in 2001, the year her brother dug into the river. The Tô Lịch River still runs through Hanoi today. Narrow, slow, mostly forgotten. People walk past it every day without looking down. Maybe that's for the best. Stories like this one survive because someone passes them on. If you'd like to hear more from across Southeast Asia, subscribe and help keep them alive. This is Dark Folklore Southeast Asia. Not because they happened, but because they never quite end.